One piece of information provided by Diablito led Santini to immediately put another gang member named Cobra on his front burner. According to Diablito, Cobra had shot and killed a young Samoan man named Manalo Muna in the Sunnydale Projects section of San Francisco. Muna was standing on the street with some friends at the time and was wearing a red 49ers team jacket, drinking a beer when he was shot down. SFPD homicide detectives had assumed at the time that a black gang member was responsible for the killing, not MS-13. What made Santini and his partners especially anxious to bust Cobra was that he had recently enlisted in the U.S. Marines. His induction into the Corps was imminent. Soon, Santini worried a murderous thug would be wearing the uniform of America's vaulted fighting force. He'd be trained up in the use of a high-powered rifle and possibly stationed overseas, maybe even guarding an embassy. His fellow Marines would rely on him to cover their backs in a fight. Maybe he'd be put on a patrol in the neighborhoods of an occupied country like Iraq or Afghanistan. And God help the locals there if Cobra's beast within found release on the streets. The thought of it had Santini and his partners scrambling to prevent Cobra's enlistment. "We know you know who capped Muna," Santini said. "We had called up Cobra and requested a meeting at Starbucks in South San Francisco." "No, man," Cobra said. "I didn't shoot nobody. That's bullshit." "Who told you that?" "Never mind," Santini said. "We know you did it. You can forget about being a Marine. That ain't going to happen." "You can't stop me," Cobra said. "I didn't do nothing." "Just admit that you did and they'll go easy on you. You'll be out maybe 5 years and it'll be behind you. You can start fresh." "I ain't admitting to nothing," Cobra said. "I didn't do shit." Each time Cobra showed up, probably just trying to find out what exactly Santini knew and how he knew it. But each time the interviews were stalemates. Cobra admitted to nothing and Santini couldn't crack him. Cobra was right. Without admissible evidence that he had committed the Muna murder, not just the unsworn statement of Diablito, an MS-13 jailbird, there was nothing Santini could do to stop his induction into the Marines. Soon, Cobra raised his right hand in the recruiter's office and swore his allegiance to the red, white, and blue, to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. He shipped off for basic and 3 months later emerged as a full-fledged private in the U.S. Marines. Diablito eventually stopped talking. He decided he wanted to go back home to see his mother in El Salvador. The agent's inability to flip another 20th Street member was aggravated by his larger frustration with Diego, who had gone to ground and stopped communicating with his government controllers. Every attempt by Santini to contact him failed. He still had no idea where Diego was or what he was doing. On the way to the office, an HSI agent who had worked extensively with Santini and Diego happened to drive right by the fugitive walking along Davis Street and recognized him. She immediately pulled her car over and grabbed her cell phone to call Santini. "Hey Michael," she said, "I have Diego in my sights." "Where?" Santini said. "I'm near the corner of Davis and Sacramento," she said. "He's just walking down the sidewalk with what looks like some grocery bags." "Keep your eye on him," Santini said. "I'm on my way." He leapt from his seat and ran down the hall to his partner's office. 1301 is at Embarcadero 3, Santini recalled. Without a word, his partner set down his coffee mug and raced to follow Santini, who was already at the elevator, pushing compulsively on the down button, pacing back and forth. The elevator doors slid open and a group of passengers, sensing the agent's urgency, quickly made space for them. At ground level, they ran across the lobby and through the revolving doors to the street. They broke into a sprint, rounding the corner at Battery Street, and there was Diego, walking with his back to them and carrying several grocery bags. Santini rushed up quietly behind him and grabbed him by the shoulder, spinning him around. When Diego saw who it was, he dropped his arms to the side, deflated. The Honduran seemed to wither under Santini's furious stares. He knew he was screwed. "I am sorry, Michael," he said. "Ain't no sorry, brother," Santini said. "We had a deal, and you broke it." The agents called for a vehicle, and the ride back to the office with Diego was intensely silent. There was nothing to be said. The informant had taken his chances and decided to put the demands on his family and a new job ahead of what Santini and his partners were requiring from him. Unfortunately for Diego, he had decided to take employment at a restaurant literally only 3 blocks from the HSI SAC office, a move that had severely degraded his odds of evading capture. The big wheels of justice had spun and landed on D-Port for Diego. He was headed back home to Honduras. Santini was losing one of his two main informants and a potentially critical witness for any future prosecutions. But HSI could not afford the risk of allowing him to remain in the country now that he had proved unreliable. Franklin Square Park. Sitting in an unmarked car with Casper, Santini pulled out a compact digital recorder and switched it on. This is Special Agent Michael Santini. The date is April 21st, 2007. The time is 1300 hours. HSI source 1312 will meet with gang leader Ivan Cerna to discuss gang-related activity. He hit the stop button and handed the recorder to Casper, who was sitting in the back seat, waiting to do his thing. He looked nervous, wiping sweat from his brow. Ever since the fiasco of an auto warehouse sting, it seemed that Casper had been skating on thin ice. He was brave, the agent had to give him that. But he wasn't sure if Casper's courage had to do with his big homie's brother, Snoopy, or simply because he was too dumb to be scared. "Game time, perro," Santini told Casper. "Let's go fight some crime." "Yes, homie," Casper said. "Let's see what the boss has to say today." Santini reminded Casper of what to coax Tigre into discussing. He specifically wanted recordings of Tigre talking about gang leadership, taxing the meseros, evidence of the big homies calling shots for 20th Street, and details on gang members committing specific crimes. Casper said he understood what Santini wanted him to do, and the agent started the car. He dropped Casper on the corner at a bus stop just a few blocks away from Franklin Square Park, where Casper had arranged to meet Tigre. Tigre had been a no-show on the streets for months, and this was going to be a unique opportunity for the agent to get a recorded conversation between the clique leader and another senior gang member. It could provide the type of evidence the U.S. Attorney's Office salivated over. Santini watched from a distance as Tigre's tan pickup truck rolled slowly into view in the lot adjacent to Franklin Square Park. He could see Casper and Tigre sitting together in the truck's cab. They parked at the entrance of the soccer field, and the two homies strolled onto the grass where they could observe three youngsters kicking a ball around. "Have you talked lately with the ones down below?" Casper said. "No, not lately," Tigre said, "but I am worried about Peloncito. He is doing work on his own without checking for approval." "Yes," Casper said, "he does not seem to understand the rules of La Marra. He is pushing too hard on Patas and the Meseros," Tigre said. "It is causing trouble. The 20th Street is not strong enough to push it. Besides, there is plenty to go around for everyone. Peloncito should not be so greedy." Tigre stretched out on the grass, his body tired and aching from a long day on the construction site. "The three-letter suit and tie guys, FBI agents, came to talk with me again," he said. "Those fuckers are snooping around for something. I think maybe I should contact them and tell them I'm definitely not the one they want." "I don't know," Casper said. "I wouldn't trust those son of a bitches for anything. I wouldn't do it." "See," Tigre said. "You're probably right." Tigre stood up straight and jingled his truck keys, signaling he was ready to head out. His family was waiting for him to eat dinner. The kids would want to play some football before homework and bedtime. He held out his hand for Casper to shake. "A la Mara," he said. "Mara Salvatrucha forever," Casper said. When Santini and his partner debriefed Casper immediately after the meeting, Casper told them the FBI had been attempting to flip Tigre as an informant. Tigre told Casper the bureau agents actually came to his house and questioned him about his gang involvement. Santini could hardly fathom that the FBI would jeopardize his investigation by making direct contact with his number one target. He immediately complained to his counterparts at the bureau, who admitted they had gone to Tigre's residence in an attempt to turn him as an informant. The fallout from the incident was exceptional. In turn, top brass at HSI and FBI headquarters had several heated exchanges. In the end, the bureau made the rookie who facilitated the knock and talk with Tigre, the same one who had screamed at Santini on the phone earlier in the investigation, seemed to vanish from the face of the earth, probably relegated to a dead-end desk job. Interagency law enforcement politics and rivalries aside, 20th Street was taking a more violent and ruthless turn. Violent attacks on Mission Streets were escalating. No amount of talking the problem down in the media by city government officials or newly announced plans to tackle the gang crime situation were having the desired effects, actual or perceived. Santini felt the growing pressure. 3 years of hard work had produced a significant amount of evidence, but no improvement in terms of public safety. If anything, conditions on the street for Mission residents were worse than ever. The clock inside Santini's head was ticking all the time. Every new violent crime that occurred in the neighborhood was a stark reminder for him of what he still had not accomplished. There was no guarantee he could succeed in dismantling 20th Street.